Hello, I'm Kristin Westberg, the founder and CEO of the Rev Collective, and I'm here today with Bryan Gray, CEO of Revenue Path Group and co-author of The Priority Sale. We're actually behind the scenes at Colorado Companies to Watch Finalist Expo. So we want to take a few minutes and talk to Bryan and have him share a little bit of his story and tell us what the Priority Sale is all about. So can you start by telling us kind of what led to you co-authoring the Priority Sale and starting the work you do at Revenue Path Group?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kristin. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. I built a couple of Inc. 500 businesses in the past. I've always been weird at following my own passions and finding where there might be an opportunity that no one's really taking advantage of, which is why I'm really happy to be at this group here for all the same type of people. But throughout my life's journey, I never saw myself writing a book on selling, even though I've read virtually every book on selling. I never saw myself speaking for a living when I used to do a lot of stuff that I used to see in my life. But I really, throughout my journey of starting as a seller in 1989, what it was like then and what's like today, I've stayed close to the pulse of the change that we're all going through when it comes to business development. So this has really been almost like a lifelong journey of where we are today and how we can act on it in the future to create a much different and better, healthier selling environment.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, so much has changed in the world of selling. And, you know, when I started learning about the work you do, it struck such a chord because we help professional services companies, technology companies, hospitality companies, you name it, that all aspects maybe started this in entrepreneur, which is how do we make our business, our service, our product a need to have and not just too nice to have. So tell me about the 3 Ws.
Oh, 3 Ws. Wow. I'll tell you, well, first of all, let me share what we believe, right? Because I think it'll kind of set it up nicely. What we do believe is the biggest current threat organization space is becoming a commodity in this prospect side. And what's making it worse, decision-making teams keep getting bigger, and they're ignoring salespeople that are very in the buying journey, driving what we call this race to the bottom, right? The race to the bottom is created by what I call the 3 deadly C's. That is commoditization, compressed selling time, and consensus decision-making. So those 3 are combining in a way that are making today's sellers less and less relevant. At the same time, it's squeezing more and more margin out of our solutions or products. So it's put sellers into a really difficult situation when they're entering the sale so late, so low, that they can't get that margin back they feel they deserve. So the 3 deadly C's being commoditization, right? We all look, sound, and act the same when the prospect shopping to the brain. Compressed selling time. We have less face time to sell now than we've ever had. It's going to get worse. And we have consensus decision making where we have nearly 7 people involved in a buying decision. And while one might be the final yes person, there are 5 or 6 others that could say, do we really do this now? Right? Can we do this instead, or can we wait 6 months? And every bit of delay is bad.
Yeah, I mean, talking to anyone out there that's doing sales right now, those 3 C's are definitely getting in the way of effectively selling and driving margin.
Yeah, we've been talking about the deadly C's for about 6 or 7 years, and what AI has been doing is really like everything else on Wise, it's just accelerating everything around us. So, back in 2020, Gartner mentioned that 83% of the buying journey is over before a human being gets involved in the sales process.
Yeah.
Right? Compressed selling time. Well, with AI, I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, when a prospect knows what they're looking for, thinks they know what they're looking for, I think the human seller will be completely taken out of the mix, and an AI bot will help a shopper make a purchase, which really puts the sellers in a kind of fun. What do we do, right? What do we sell?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The access to data is so prevalent. So we're all getting inundated with calls, voicemails, texts, emails, LinkedIn, it's everywhere, right? So
we get those emails that are we meeting this I got an email today saying, congratulations on beginning your journey. I thought, oh my God, they realize I'm almost 58 years old. So AI's not all there yet.
Always beginning a new journey.
That's a good point.
That's right. So let's talk about margin.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that's really fascinated me in hearing your message is the concept of above the line and below the line margin in in business.
Yeah, I think this is the new paradigm for selling. When you think about when I started selling back in 1989, there was no internet, which is blowing to think about today that we sold with on. But where a seller was valued then was they were information distributors, right? They would share and go around the countryside, around their territories, and meet prospects and share information. When the internet comes along and prospects started doing their own research, and then a seller had to become a helpful seller.
Yeah.
Right? Now we're starting to see the point where that's even less and less important.
Right.
The value of a human seller now is their ability to create win margin. And they got us thinking down the path of what's margin really mean beyond a number. Margin is really your relevance. Margin is your vitality. Margin is your value. So if the world doesn't appreciate you that much, Kristin, they're not going to pay what you want, which is really saying you're not that valuable to us.
Totally.
So we started looking at this idea of margin being comprised of two areas. What is the below the line margin is the margin you create by cutting costs, being more efficient, lean, those type of areas. So we improve our margins by being more cost conscious, so more effective. What was missing is what we call above the line margin, and that's externally created margin. That's the margin the world will reward you for if you can communicate your real value, if your prospect really appreciates and understands that value. And unfortunately, if you're showing up too low, too late in the buying journey, there's not a lot of margin left. So by thinking about above the line margin being how can we actually go create greater margin through our revenue function, which I include revenue function, but we both marketing and sales, so that the market actually rewards us for greater margin, but that's solely dependent on when you get in the sale, where you get in the sale, and how you get to the sale. And if you can't get it early, high enough for the right reasons, you're stuck at the bottom and you don't have much margin left.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's dig into that a little bit more. So what does it mean to start a buying journey?
Start a buying journey, yeah. When you think about it, and you think about this kind of on the tail end of the helpful seller era, when most sellers enter into the buying journey, right, or the prospects already, they know they're looking for, they're shopping around and they're looking at 2 or 3 competitors that can do the work. Obviously, that's called existing demand, right? Where they know what they want, they think they know what they want, they have a good sense of what they want to spend and what they want to pay. And so they're trying to line up similarly looking and sounding competitors to say, which one do I want to choose? Not a lot of market. When it comes to starting the buying journey, what we really want sellers to start doing now and moving forward is to be able to start a conversation with a complete stranger and really help them see your impact in a way that creates demand, right? So starting a buying journey is getting in front of a prospect before they're even shopping for a solution to become aware that what you do can actually make one of their threats go away, which is really a priority. So I believe, Kristin, this is the only place for human sellers to remain. Once AI takes over the existing demand part of the sale, the only real value to a seller is their ability to create and win greater margin. And guess what? It's much greater when you're further at a higher level and actually starting a buying journey, not showing up at the 83% mark with every well-done buying, and they know what they want to do.
Yeah, Bryan and I had a chance to share with him the taekwondo framework that our team has used to create both buying journeys and customer journeys to gain new clients and grow revenue from existing customers. And it's interesting because, yes, our taekwondo framework starts with that awareness, which is awareness of the need, awareness of the pain, and how we illustrate that, how we get them to feel that, how we show them that. That's what creates urgency to act, right? Urgency to solve the problem. It mobilizes them to now start thinking about, should this be a top priority for my business? What potential solutions could there be? And getting in there, right, at that first conversation where we're actually the ones making them aware they have a problem, right?
Absolutely, and I think that's what makes you very different than most marketing organizations that I have found, where they get very good at marketing to existing demand. I mean, look at search engine optimization. SEO is an example. SEO says when you're shopping, I want you to find me. What that really means is, yeah, you're going to be found, but you already be found with 2 or 3 other competitors. There's not a lot of value left. And what you're doing is you're helping set that stage, because I believe this whole concept of priority sale is to be able to communicate your real impact, the real value that you create, and connecting it to your ideal prospect's priority. And a priority is a commitment to make a threat go away. And that really drives all of our behaviors. I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about the brain bunch or not, But the idea
actually the next question.
You
teed me up.
Sideways here. But what's really important about what you were saying, Kristin, is that you help with the way you're marketing upstream or to create demand. You're helping people become aware that there are solutions to the threats that they desperately want to build.
And even making them aware of the threat.
Absolutely.
Right? Because oftentimes they don't perceive the threat. And we have to show them that whether it's status quo or market disruption or competitor disruption, whatever it is, that there is a threat looming. And that creates
Which is exactly how you go about starting the buying journey. And so when I look at this, I get the revenue function. I look at this as both marketing and sales adjusting and adapting their behaviors. I think it's probably why we have
And we consider it holistic, right? When we map a buyer journey, there's a role for sales and a role for marketing. What's most important is that the messaging framework is consistent, right? We're kind of working in tandem to engage our buyers across different channels with different messaging depending on which stage of the buyer journey they're in. But all of that should be holistic. And we also talked about, well, yes, we drive more value, more margin when we create the buying journey. We also know that it is important to show up when the buyer is already in that consideration and decision phase, because while we are going to probably get into a little bit more of a commoditized approach there where we're one of many and it's a negotiation based on price, I mean, still showing up with our value messaging and why we're different is important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really two moments of truth. And when I speak to CEOs, I talk about there's really two moments of truth they have to master. And one is the existing demand, right, when they're already shopping. The other is when you're actually creating demand, starting the buying journey. And what I will share with them is that you need and want those leads. I just don't know if you can afford to pay a six-figure salary commission when there's very little margin. So at the end of the sale, it's very much a revenue, low margin, high revenue sale. Worse, if you're in there starting the buying journey, which is where a human seller should be, that's where you're actually creating revenue, but much higher margin. It's truly a both-end strategy.
Yeah, and you've got them kind of committed and invested before you get to those stages where they're just, how do you look compared to this one, compared to this one, compared to this one? Totally. So, tell me about the so what, so that framework.
Well, the root of that is that I don't believe most sellers can communicate their real intent. I think they might know it, but I don't think they communicate it. And I don't think they also understand their ideal prospects' real priorities, which are really the threats that drive all of their actions. Because what our brains will do is our primitive brain more specifically, which is where 90% of all decisions happen, is programmed to make threats go away, both physical and social, right? And so these threats are always underneath and they're always operating, and we always want to make them away. But if a seller doesn't understand the real impact, nor do they understand their ideal prospects, real priorities, or threats, they can't make that connection. So the so that exercise is rooted in I use Toyota's 5 whys, right? Get to the root of an issue. It's the root of an issue, because what we hear people say is like, why would someone take a meeting? Or why should they pick you? Well, we have a quality service program, highly innovative, where all these things, and yeah, that might be the case, but I would imagine your competitors are probably saying similar things.
Sure.
And on top of your prospects, current brain doesn't even know what that means.
Right.
So when you look at the solutions that people believe they bring to the table, and they're seeking to find a way to connect to the prospect's primitive brain, we ask them to so what each of those. If you say, we offer quality service, that's great, Kristin. So what does that really do for me as a prospect? And then you'll give me some form of a more dialed in answer. I'll say, that's great, I appreciate that, but so what to that? So we keep getting to the real root essence, because you have so little time to reach the primitive brains and substance. So we have to be able to communicate in a way that says, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And you won't get there by talking about great service or highly technical or super responsive. You need to get to the real root issue of that if you're going to make any kind of connection.
Totally. No, it's so meaningful. I get it, right? Everybody wants to talk about how great their products and services are and the things that they think are most important to them and other people, but really delivering that value messaging to your buyer takes going through that full process.
Because you're trying to reach the buyer's primitive brain that doesn't care how long you've been in business, doesn't care how many employees, doesn't care about any of those things until it believes that you can help them.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so tell me, what are the 3 most important questions that your sellers should be able to answer?
Well, okay. So I believe that and you start this discussion today when I shared what I believe, right? When you're entering a sale late in the buying journey, and the prospect has a good sense of what they're looking for, and they're shopping you against 2 or 3 competitors, and they might even be an incumbent in the mix. What she wants to know is, why should I choose you? Yeah. Right? Why should I pick you? I know you can do the work. All 3 of you can do the work, and all your people are great. Your testimonials are great. Everything's so similar to my brain. Why should I pick you? The difference is when you're, and that's how you have to defend yourself in LA. So that's one question you have to clearly be able to articulate. But when you're seeking to get access earlier at a higher level to actually start that buying journey, you have to realize the prospect's not even shopping. Mm-hmm. So when you reach out to them, you can't ask a lot of questions because there's like, why should I talk about this? And why should I talk about it now? So those are the 2 fundamental questions that a human seller has to be able to answer quickly. That is, why this, why now? I'm interrupting your life, you're busy. You have 17 or 18 things swirling around your head. Why should you take a meeting with a complete stranger who's seeking to start a buying journey? So this is one of those fundamental business tools that I believe every seller needs to have, but most don't. And that is, how can you introduce yourself to a complete stranger and build trust in less than 30 seconds?
Yeah, powerful. Do you have any customer stories or examples that help to kind of bring all of this to life?
Well, of course. And we had to start ourselves, right? Because we have to preach what we practice and practice what we preach. And as I started out today, that when people ask what you do, I don't tell people what you do, because their primitive brain doesn't care about any of that. They don't care how you do it. They don't care how long you've been in business. They want to know what you believe. And in Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, he talks about this, that you can build trust with a complete stranger as long as you share the same beliefs. Yeah. So how you address those why this, why now, why you is, in our case, it's what I believe. What I believe, Kristin, is the biggest current threat you face is becoming a commodity in prospect size, right? And we want, and repeatedly, I'll have CEOs stop me in the middle and say, that's exactly what I'm dealing with. How can you help me do that? I had that happen to me the other day. Get out of my head. I hear all these things. And all that tells me is that my real impact and what I do for them connects deeply to their priorities, which are those flats. And I'm only seeking CEOs who are in that very spot, right? Right. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. So that's how we've kind of set them on our journey. And this is actually one of the first deliverables we actually create together for an organization. What we would do is help them really articulate why this, why now, why you, so that their sellers are actually getting access earlier at a higher level. Yeah. What happens when they do? What happens when they do? They'll start seeing their revenue grow because they're actually creating new sales that may never got to the existing demand. They're able to create much greater margins because they're aligned more closely at higher levels in the organization, and they're able to grow the market share, where they're actually able to outmaneuver your competitors, because you can either wait till the prospect shops and always running the same 2 or 3 people, or you can seek to sell at a higher level, but you have to answer those 2 crucial questions. Why should I talk about this? Then why should I talk about the now?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be more excited for the future and the opportunity for our team to partner with you. Our fractional chief revenue officers and chief marketing officers have an incredible framework that we utilize, and we go to help our clients, including building their go-to-market strategy and creating their revenue engine, which is the people, the operations, and the technology that bring to life that go-to-market strategy. And now working with you and bringing the framework of the priority sale to SMBs so that we can help them implement this strategy, get their sellers in front of their buyers to create buying journeys, but also capitalize on inbound demand and still, with the right messaging, capture as much value and as much conversion as we can during that time frame. And taking that paradigm of creating more above the line margin, and then also using our revenue operations team for what we call revenue efficiency below the line, right? Absolutely. Which is when there is alignment across the people and the process, and you're leveraging technology effectively, you can create more margin below the line.
What a wonderful ecosystem. And I do believe in a world, Kristin, in a world of acceleration where change is compounding upon itself, that disparate functions can create a lot of friction. And what I like about this partnership is that it allows us to create an ecosystem where we all can work as one. And I think that the only way you can stay on that curve of acceleration is to have the right kind of ecosystem. And I want to cover one thing too, because when it comes to existing demand, you can defend your margin.
Totally.
Right? So even where it's being compressed, I do believe with the right inbound, and you're able to defend yourself appropriately with a better YU, right? We can actually defend there and then grow it early.
I agree too. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you, Kristin.
I look forward to working with you.
You, Jen?